What's going on, you guys? Uh, MMA Genius back here again. Do another video about George St. Pierre versus Josh Koscheck. Now I know I'm way early on this fight, this predictions, but I just couldn't help myself, man. I had to give a prediction for this fight early, and who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind and do another prediction as we get closer to the fight. Now, going into this fight. Going into this fight with Josh Koscheck and George St. Pierre, who do I think is going to win? Well, who do you think is going to win? Nah, seriously, man. Honestly, these two guys have fought before in the past. Obviously, both of them are different fighters from what they used to be. They're both better fighters from what they used to be. But are they so different? I don't think that they're much different. I just think they've gotten better at what they were already good at, especially George St. Pierre. Now, I think going to this fight, Josh Koscheck is going to learn from the mistake that he made in their first fight. Basically, he went into that fight thinking that just cocky and arrogant, thinking that he was the greatest wrestler and GSP is not going to take me down. That's my world. Basically that's what he said, and basically he went in there and got taken down over and over again. Now he got GSP down once and maybe twice. I don't know. I can't remember. It was a while ago, but he got him down. But George St. Pierre won the wrestling match and he won the striking. Barely. He barely won the striking. He wasn't willing to stand too much, and there wasn't really much of ground. But like I say, the fight was kind of a mediocre fight. It wasn't all that great, and nobody really got beat up. It's just Koscheck kind of got outclassed. That's all. And going into this fight, I think Koscheck's going to come in with a different game plan. I think these guys are just so obvious of what one another is going to do. But I gotta say, I think when it comes to the smart side of this and the game plan, having a great game plan, I think that George St. Pierre is going to win the game plan. I know Koscheck is going to go into this fight thinking that George St. Pierre is going to take him down again, try and take him down again. Anyways, you can't be stupid here, Mr. Koscheck. You got to think about, George St. Pierre. He caught you off guard last time. He knows that he caught you off guard last time with his wrestling, and he knows that you're going to be ready for that, and you're going to tighten up on all your wrestling skills. You're going to be tighten up on your wrestling defense. In fact, you may even try to take him down at times. But he knows that you pretty much knows what he can do along with the rest of the world when it comes to wrestling. Now, however, that being said, Josh Koscheck is going to come into this fight thinking that he can force GSP into a stand-up, and George St. Pierre knows that. So guess what? My friend, Mr. George St. Pierre is going to train with Freddie Roach. He's already training with Freddie Roach, the greatest boxing coach in the world. Some would make the argument. But George St. Pierre is actually going to come into this fight. He already had some good striking. It wasn't great, but it was good. But his striking is going to be even better now that he's training with a high-level world-class coach like Freddie Roach when it comes to boxing. Now, Koscheck, that being said, Koscheck is going to come with that same ass overhand right. He's not going to try to, do any uppercuts, any hooks. He's just coming with that overhand right, man. His takedown defense is going to be superb, and he's going to try to force GSP into a stand-up. But I'm telling you right now, George St. Pierre is not coming into this fight trying to take Koscheck down. George St. Pierre is coming to this fight to knock Josh Koscheck out because people have already become bored of George St. Pierre. All he does is take people down. That's what the fans say, and win decision. That's it. People want to see him finish a fight. So guess what? Hey, this video is going to have to go into part 2 because I'm just about running out of time. So hopefully you come over to part 2 to finish watching the videos. But I'm going to try to get this in here. George St. Pierre is going to come into the fight trying to knock George St. Pierre out. Trying to knock Josh Koscheck out. And I believe he's going to do it. He's going to knock Josh Koscheck out. I don't know what round, but he's going to knock him out because I believe his striking is going to go to the next level. He's not going to want to make your born fight, even though he clearly doesn't really care. I mean, it's not all about what the fans want to see when it comes to George. He's already said that he plays against a guy's weakness, and he does what he has to do to win. But that being said, at some point you still have to care about what the fans think is at a certain extent, because they're the ones buying the tickets and they're the ones buying the pay-per-views. So I think George St. Pierre is going to come into this fight willing to strike. He's going to shock a lot of people when he knocks Josh Koscheck out, because Josh Koscheck is going to be so worried about George St. Pierre trying to take him down. He's going to forget all about what George St. Pierre striking can do. And George St. Pierre is going to shock a lot of people, but he's going to knock Josh Koscheck out. So leave your comments and let me know what you think. And those are my predictions, man. Like I say, they may change, but for right now, I think George St. Pierre is going to knock Josh Koscheck out. So, yeah.